Hello friends! I have some very exciting reading plans for this vlog because we are going to be trying to finish series that I'm in the middle of. Every time I say that, I'm like, technically I'm not finishing them because I'm not like on the last book, but I'm reading through some of the series that I've been in the middle of for a while. But the books that I have that I'll be reading are very exciting books. I don't know how many series I'm currently in the middle of, but I know of at least 3 because those are the books that I'm gonna be reading in this video. So one of them is Divine Rivals. I have Ruthless Vows on my Libby right now. I'm about 30% of the way through, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then I also have the 4th Finlay Donovan book that just recently came out. So those are a few of the series that I know I'm in the middle of that I have the books for. Back to what I said though, I am currently reading Ruthless Vows. And so far, let me see like actually what percentage that I'm on. Okay, so I'm 37% of the way through Ruthless Vows. And so far, like I'm liking it because it has like obviously the same vibes as like Divine Rivals and it's still like kind of magical and whimsical and whatnot, but I feel like the reason that I loved Divine Rivals so much was because of like Iris and Roman's development and their relationship, and I feel like that was kind of like the center of the story. And then in the second book, it's not like, at least so far, it's not the center of the story. It kind of has like a different focus, and so it's just different from Divine Rivals. And I also feel like in Ruthless Vows, I'm kind of getting bored, honestly. Like I feel like nothing super interesting has happened and I feel like it's kind of like just dragging on. I'm still liking it and like I'm still intrigued, but I am just getting, a little bit bored and I'm a little bit not as interested as I was in the first book. I think if they would have incorporated more of like the war and the fantasy elements and like the gods and did more explaining on that end, then I think that this book would have been better. But because in the first book they just focused on one thing and then in the second book they focused on the other thing, it just makes it so they don't really like read together super well. Like if they had just focused on the same kind of plot points, I don't know if that is really making sense, but overall it's okay. It's not my favorite. It's not quite as good as Divine Rivals so far, but again, I am only 30% of the way through it, so I don't know, maybe that'll change. So tonight I'm going to continue to read this, and I'm hopefully going to finish this within the next day or two. I don't really have today's Wednesday, I don't really have a whole lot of plans this weekend. Besides, I might go to the market and I might go on a hike, but for the most part, we're just going to be reading a lot within the next week or so. Hello, friends. I just finished Ruthless Vows. And I'm so sad to say that I was like actually extremely disappointed. Well, not extremely disappointed, but I was disappointed with this one. I really liked Divine Rivals. I thought it was very magical. I loved Roman and Iris's story. The fantasy part of it was really confusing just because it didn't really like feel like the focus of the book. So going into Ruthless Vows, I kind of like expected the same type of vibe. Like it would be romantic, it would be like a little bit magical, and it would just be like a very gripping story. But with Ruthless Vows, I just feel like in Divine Rivals, the main focus is Roman and Iris, and it feels like the fantasy part of it, like the war, the politics, all that is just like an afterthought. And then in the second book, the war, the politics, all that stuff is like the main plot, and I feel like the actual romance just gets kind of forgotten about. So it just feels like completely different. And then also in Ruthless Vows, I felt like I never got invested in the story, and I was honestly bored at a lot of points in the story. There was never really any area where I was like super invested. And honestly, by like 60% in, I was kind of just like dreading to finish it. Like I honestly kind of wanted to DNF it at some points because I was like, I'm just so bored, And I feel so bad because like I really liked the first one, and I think that the author's writing is really lovely and stuff, but just I don't know what happened with Ruthless Vows, but it just gave way different vibes than Divine Rivals. I honestly just don't even know what else to say about it besides I was just so bored. Like I never got very interested. I mean, I still obviously really love these characters and that didn't change, but it was just a complete shift from the first book. And honestly, I think I would have been fine reading if Divine Rivals didn't end on a cliffhanger, then I would have been fine with just reading that as like a standalone. But because it ended on a cliffhanger, you obviously have to read the next book. But I don't know. I'm so disappointed and I'm so let down because I was really hoping to enjoy that book. But I also heard that I also heard that a lot of other people feel kind of the same way about it, so I don't know. But anyway, now that that's over, A Court of Wings and Ruin came up on my Libby, so I'm going to probably start that one. I don't know if I'm going to start tonight because honestly, I feel just kind of drained from like having to listen to the last 20 to 30% of Ruthless Vows, so I'm kind of just like not in the mood to start another book right now. So I'll probably start it tomorrow. Hello, friends. It's been quite a few days. Honestly, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. I don't really know. I've lost track of the days. But I ended up actually not reading A Court of Wings and Ruin because I just feel like it was going to take so much brain power that I just don't have to give right now. Like that book and that series, I feel like just it takes so much out of you. Like you have to really be super invested in it, and because there's so much going on and because it's such like a long series and each book is longer, it's just a lot. And it's just a lot for my brain right now. So I just need some more kind of light and fluffy and just like easier reads at the moment. So I decided to pick up Finlay Donovan Rolls a Dice. This is the 4th book in the Finlay Donovan series. So I got to page, I think just under 100. I got to page 87. So I'm on chapter 8. These chapters are extremely long, but yes, so I am reading this one now and I'm really enjoying it. I just eat up all of these books, but I will say now that we are on the 4th book in the series, the whole thing is starting to feel a little bit like unrealistic, a little bit outlandish. Like how many times can one woman encounter so many dead bodies, you know? Like it seems a little bit too much at this point now, and there's also supposed to be a 5th book in the series, so I'm just really interested to see how the author drags this out and like how, like what's gonna happen. But it's still so fun and it's funny, and literally the whole time you are just on the edge of your seat like, oh my gosh, is this really happening right now? And so it's exciting, it's light, it's fluffy, it's funny. It is like a bit unrealistic, but honestly, like I don't care right now. It's fiction, and I feel like a lot of the books that I've read I almost take too seriously in a way where I like put myself in the position of like the point of view, and so like their feelings are my feelings, and like I just get too invested and then like I get really emotional. So like I just needed something that was very fictional and just fun and funny and kind of mysterious. So I honestly think that this is just the perfect read for me right now. I am kind of in a weird phase where I'm just feeling really weird about thrillers at the moment, which is very odd for me to be saying because I'm a big like mystery thriller reader. That is like a majority of what I love to read. But lately, I don't know. I don't know if it's because I'm just kind of sensitive right now or if I'm feeling a little bit convicted about it, but thrillers just, I don't really feel comfortable reading them right now, and I don't feel very comfortable putting my mind through that like kind of twisty, dark stuff, you know? So I'm putting my thriller reading on hold for a while until I feel like I'm, I don't know, in a better headspace and where I don't feel icky about reading them, you know? So I don't know, that's just where I'm at in my reading journey at the moment. I have the day off today, so I'm going to continue reading this book. I woke up this morning at like 5:20-ish a.m., which is so weird because I never wake up that early, but my body just kind of like woke itself up at 5, and I was going to be hiking with a lady from my church at 7 a.m. So I was like, I'm not just gonna go back to sleep and wake up in 30 minutes just to get up and like, you know, go hiking. So I woke up at 5 something this morning, went hiking at 7 a.m. and honestly, it was just so much fun. I've done that twice now. Today was my second time within the last 2 weeks where I've woken up like really early to go hiking with her. And it's just a great time. I honestly love the mornings so much. I'm a big like early morning person, but because I can't get to sleep until 10:30, 11:30 p.m., I just can never wake up that early because I'm just so tired. But I'm really trying to get my body to fall asleep earlier so that I can wake up earlier, because I just genuinely love the mornings so much. And especially hiking in the morning. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. And right now, since it's spring, everything's blooming and it's kind of getting warmer in the mornings. It's getting brighter earlier. So it was just great. It was great, and I just love doing those things in the morning. Anyway, I digress. So yes, I'm going to continue reading this book, have a little bit of a slow day today, and so I'll update you guys when I read more. Hello, sweet reader friends. So last night I finished Finlay, Donovan Rolls a Dice. I honestly can't remember the last time that I updated you guys. I think I was only like maybe 100 pages in, but I got really into it, and then I wasn't feeling good for a few days, and I'm still not feeling great, but I really need to film, so here we are. But yeah, I just ended up finishing it, and okay, so like, big picture, I loved it. I love all the Finlay Donovan books. They're just so much fun, and they're so funny, and you're just like on the edge of your seat the entire time. I think I'm gonna give it like a 4 or a 4.25, maybe 4.25, because I did like really like this book, and there literally wasn't anything I necessarily didn't like about it. I just feel like in this series, there's just only so many times like the same thing can happen before you're like, okay, this is A, getting a little bit repetitive, and B, it's like extremely unrealistic, which I know it's fiction, so unrealistic is like kind of expected. But with this, it's like, girl, how many dead bodies can you come across and somehow manage to never get caught with, or you just like get rid of? Like, how many times can that same thing happen before it just like kind of gets old, you know? So I, again, love this book. I had so much fun with it, but I honestly don't know how I'm going to feel about the next book, because the way that this ended, another dead body, which is, that's not a spoiler because like it's expected from these books, but it's just, I don't know, it's just the same thing. So I don't know. I just feel like I'm gonna start to get kind of tired of that. But I also just love Finlay and Vero so much that I just eat up everything that El Casimano writes. I did really like the somewhat relationship development between Vero and Javi, because I feel like in the third book it obviously kind of like sprinkled that in, and it was something that you definitely wanted more of, and so that was fun to see in this book. I do wish that we got more of Nick and Finlay in this book though, because the way that the previous book went, you definitely thought that things were really gonna like pick up with them, and I just feel like the romance part of it kind of fell flat, which is fine because there was like a lot going on, but I don't know, I wish I saw a little bit more of them. At this point in the series, it is kind of hard to keep up with all of the connections and all of the ties and all of the ways that all of these people and things like are connected. So that's also something that I'm a little bit nervous for the next book, is that like who else is going to be introduced into this crazy like web of crime. Like it's almost like too much for you to keep up with, and especially since all of these books obviously come out after a year. The timeline of these books literally is within like a few months. Like from book 1 to this book, I'm pretty sure it's only like 5 months, if that, probably less. I mean, the time span between the last book, which was Finlay Donovan Jumps the Gun, and this book, like in the plot line, what happened in this book and what happened in this book happened literally within, I think, like 5 days, if not a week. So I just feel like the timelines for these books are too close together when we have to wait a year for each book to come out, if that makes sense. Because I found myself having to like reread the ending of that book to even understand like where they were at in this book, because this picks up right where that left off, and that's how every book in this series is. So you almost like have to wait until they're all out to like just binge all of them, because it's just, yeah, everything just happens so close together, which I feel like also kind of takes away from the plot, because that also makes it extremely unrealistic. Like that literally all these things would not happen to you within like 2 months. I mean, maybe they would, I don't know. But overall though, as always, I just eat these books up and I love them. So yeah, rating is 4 or 4.25. I don't know. we'll see. But now, I don't know. I still don't know if I'm quite in the mood for A Court of Wings and Ruin. I have like 2 other books that I want to read before I read that one. So I think I'll read those 2 and then I'll get to A Court of Wings and Ruin. So the next time I update you guys might be like next week. Hello, sweet reading friends. My allergies are so bad right now. But anyway, I just decided I'm not gonna read A Court of Wings and Ruin in this vlog. I really, really want to, and it's like on my priority top TBR, but right now same thing. Like, I just don't have the brain power to put into this series right now. So I picked up the second book in the Emily Wilde's series, and that is Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. I read the first one not too long ago, like a couple weeks to a little over a month ago, I don't know. But I loved the first one. It was so cute. It was so magical. I loved the banter between Emily and the other main character, Wendell. It was just such a magical, whimsical book. I can't even explain it any other way. Besides, I just absolutely love this world and these characters. So I was very, very excited to hop back into this. I'm currently on page 94. So I'm not super far into it yet, but so far it's super cute. I feel like in what makes this different from the first book, I just woke up. It's literally 7 in the morning right now. And I can't form words. But what makes this different from the first book is that the first book, I feel like, was a lot of vibes, and like the plot was a little hard to follow, because I just feel like there was no like objective, to the book. But with this one, there's like an actual thing that they're doing, and that they're like, I guess, working towards. Like, there is an objective to the book, which I loved in the first book, how there kind of wasn't an objective. Like, it was just really fun, all vibes type of thing, which was great. And that was like what I kind of wanted at the time. But I think the lack of plot also made me give it like a 4.25 or 4.5 instead of a 5-star. So with this one, because it does have like an actual storyline that we're following, I feel like it'll be probably a 5-star read. And these books are just the most beautiful things in the entire world. I love these covers so much, and I really want to get the UK covers of, honestly, both, except for the first Emily Wilde's. I got the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition, which is very beautiful. So yeah, I don't know. I just, like I said in, I think my previous one of my other videos, but I don't usually get special editions in books that I love, but I've just been really wanting special editions this year in the books that are my absolute favorite. And I think because, like, not only is this one of my favorite books, but it's literally just the most beautiful book. So, today, like I said, it is 7 o'clock and I have to go to work here pretty soon. So I'm going to listen to the audio version on my way to work, and then hopefully read a pretty big chunk of it tonight when I get home. Little reading update for you. I am now on page 220 in Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands, and still absolutely loving these books. I don't know what it is. I think it just like really channels my inner childhood like fairy giddiness. Like, something about these books just really brings that out in me, and I just adore it so much. This book, I feel like, I don't know, I'm having the same amount of fun with this book and the first book, but in this one, I feel like, kind of like what I said before, we definitely are following more of like an actual plot, so to say. But I also feel like there's just, at first there was a lot of moving parts to it. Like, we were looking for another professor that went missing a while ago. There was that, and then there was also like assassins who were coming to, obviously try and assassinate Wendell. And there was like a mysterious person who was kind of like coming up out of I don't know, there was just a lot of like moving things, and I was really confused at first, like how all of this came together and like how it was all connected. But now I understand. I feel like in this book, a lot more, not like super intense thing, but like there is some pretty intense happenings, since the stakes are, I feel like, getting higher in this book. There's more things, I guess, that could happen and things that could put them in danger. So that's interesting. And I also feel like sometimes in this book, I feel like it's hard for me to imagine it in my head, because they are like relatively descriptive, but there's just some things where like things are either changing super often, or like their magic
system and stuff is kind of confusing to understand. Just for example, there's obviously like the fairy world and then there's like the mortal world. And so there's these things called like the borderlands, which is where you're like still technically in fairy, but kind of in the, I don't know, so like that's something I don't really understand. And so sometimes when they say that like someone is still in fairy but they can like see them in the mortal realm, it's like, I'm really confused about that. And then also some of the actual fairies themselves are really hard to picture, because there's one of them that like I guess looked something like a wolf but like in a human body, like it had hands but a snout and like big old eyes, and I was like, I'm just trying to picture what this looks like right now, but it's literally just coming out looking like a werewolf from Harry Potter. So yeah, I don't know. There's just some things that I'm like, I wish that this was either described a little bit better or there was like pictures provided, because that would help my brain a lot. My library labeled this as a romance, and I honestly don't know if I would call it a romance. There's really not much romance in this at all. I mean, I'm nearly to the 75% point, and we've only gotten one, maybe two, like scenes where there's like any romance whatsoever. So if you're going into the series thinking it's going to be like a romance, then that's not the case. It's definitely not like a romantasy. It is very much like a cozy fantasy with a little bit of romance, at least in my opinion. I don't know if other people would say differently. I definitely wish that we got more romance in these books, for sure. But with how the characters are, I understand like why it's not like that. Sometimes I almost wonder if Emily is on the spectrum a tiny bit, just by, I don't know, the way that she acts and talks and thinks and feels. It makes me feel like she might be, which I love when there is like neurodivergent characters in books. I did like also how there is other, not like main characters, but there's other characters that are more present in this book, and that is Professor Rose. I can't remember his first name, but Professor Rose, and that is pretty much, I think it's like the department head at Cambridge, and then her niece as well. And the character development of the head of the department, I'm actually kind of enjoying. We didn't really like him at first. He was very annoying, and I didn't like the way that he talked to Emily, and especially the way that he talks and thinks about Wendell. But I think this is it's like an unlikely alliance, I guess, if that is what I would call it, between Professor Rose and, I don't know, like the rest of the crew. Overall though, I'm definitely still super enjoying it. We are getting to the point in the book where it's going to start getting more intense and where things are going to like really start going down. Again, like how I felt with the first book, I definitely am not reading this book for the plot as much as I am just the overall like world atmosphere, vibes, interactions, relationships. And I am really interested to see like what's gonna happen in this next 130 or so pages, because I feel like the stakes are getting a lot higher. So I'm gonna try and finish this today. I do have quite a few things I have to get done in the next couple hours, and then I'm so excited because we're going to a Lauren Daigle concert later today. I've been waiting 4 years for this concert. 4 years, because I was supposed to go to her last tour, but then Rona hit and everything got canceled, and I didn't think that she was ever gonna come back to Boise, and I'm just so excited because Lauren Daigle is literally my T-Swift, and oh, I just love her so much. So I'm very, very excited for that. And then I do also have my bridal shower this weekend. So Saturday and Sunday are both going to be very, very busy days. But I'm hoping to get as much reading done as I possibly can today. And then hopefully a little bit tomorrow. Finished Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands, and it's so cute. Definitely a lot more like intense interactions happened in this book. So here, let's go through the ups and downs, the downs and things that I didn't
totally love. First of all, I feel like a commonality in these books are that it can be very anticlimactic. I feel like you think that something's gonna have like a good reveal, or like, I don't even know exactly how to explain it, but it's just kind of anticlimactic. And I also do feel like the ending in this book and in the last book were pretty rushed. Like, I feel like the majority of the book is like a quest, or, you know, something that they're trying to do or trying to find, and then it's literally just like the last teeny tiny little chunk is where that's supposed to be like the 75% point like climax, and it's just not like that. Like, it doesn't feel like a climax. It just kind of feels like an ending kind of like wow moment, but it's like really short. I don't even know if that makes sense. I don't know how to describe it. Hello, I'm editing right now and I'm just realizing I forgot to say a few things, but one thing I forgot to say is that I did listen to a lot of this on audiobook as well. Like, I was going between audio and physical. And I feel like with the audio versions, sometimes I just get a little bit distracted. Like, I'm still listening to the book, but sometimes I'm not totally invested in the plot. So I feel like that also kind of took away from like my reading experience, because not like at all points in the story I wasn't completely invested, and like my brain wasn't completely there. So I feel like if I were to have like actually physically read the entire book and like looked at the words and heard the audio, then I probably would have like enjoyed it more, which I still like really enjoyed it, but you know what I mean. And also, I went to Half Price Books the other day. I'm editing right now and I'm hearing myself say that I really want the UK versions, and I literally went to Half Price Books just like on a whim. I was like, I'm just gonna, in the area, I'm just gonna go look and like see what they have. It's sitting right there. They literally had a paperback version of this book in the UK edition, the only copy that they had. I didn't even know that anybody here really had. I mean, you could order off of like Blackwell's or something, but like in my brain, I did not think that anyone would like get it and bring it to Half Price Books. Like, that was just the last thing I expected to see there. And I freaking scored the UK version in paperback. My jaw literally dropped to the floor when I saw that. So that was a pleasant surprise. And it was brand new. Like, the spine wasn't cracked. It had no flaws. It was divine timing. Overall, I think I'm going to give it a 4.5. The only reason that I don't give these books 5 stars is because they are mostly just vibes. And even though I absolutely am in love with those vibes, I just don't feel like I can justify giving a book 5 stars if it doesn't hit like all of the marks, you know? I still agree with my previous statement that I wish we got more romance between Wendell and Emily. We definitely got more of it towards the end, and like the ending last like chapter or two. Hello. So that was nice, and that got me really excited for the next book, because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like with these books, the first book was mostly vibes. Second book had a little plot, mostly vibes. And now I feel like the third book is going to have like a lot heavier of a plot, because a more complex, I mean, this was complex, but like a more intense situation is happening, I guess. This one, I feel like in the first book, it was almost like a found family trope because of the people in Useland, I think is what it's called. They ended up, like the people of that village ended up having a good relationship with Emily and Wendell by the end of the book. And in this book, it's more focused on Emily, Wendell, Emily's niece, and the department head's kind of like relationship development. At the very end, that's when people of the village kind of also form a relationship. So I feel like this one was more focused on just those 4 people's relationship, versus the first book was definitely more of like a village and like found family feel. It's genuinely so hard for me to like find and form the right words that I'm trying to say, but I just hope all that makes sense. I'm trying to figure out if there's any other book series that I'm in the middle of that I could maybe squeeze one more book into this video, but I don't think there is, honestly. So that might be it for this video. But I do know of at least 2 books in the next month or so that are coming out that are part of series that I'm in the middle of. So definitely stay tuned for another one of these videos. This was fun, and now I am technically all caught up. I know that I'm not technically finished with these series yet. Well, Divine Rivals I am, because I don't think there's a third book coming out in that series, but for the Finlay Donovan ones, I've read the most recent release, and then with the Emily Wildes, I've read the most recent release. So now it's just waiting for the next books to come out. So I technically did finish 2 series, and now I'm going to get to the rest of my actual monthly TBR because I suck so bad at actually following my monthly TBRs. I always pick books out and then I never read those books because I'm always just mood reading, but I tried to pick books that are in different genres and ones that I was in the mood for now so that I actually picked them up. So now I'm gonna go pick up one of those books and make another vlog out of that. I love you all so much, and I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your week, and I will see you in my next video. Mwah!